All right, so this is the sample application framework thingy that we're going to use to run all of our code. A very convenient little playground that we can use to really quickly iterate on reactive extensions, or really any other thing that you might want to learn or play around with or mess with. Again, I know that this series is not about Node, npm, Browserify, Babel, Gulp, whatever. But once you start using it, you'll understand why I did it this way. We need a tight feedback loop. We need to use the modern features of JavaScript. We need a package manager so that we can install our dependencies. We need a module loader so we can load our dependencies. And all that stuff has been handled with this project. But I do want to go take a second and talk about how we can go about using this project. Now, the first thing is when you extract it, you're going to want to make sure that you have Node installed. So hop on over to nodejs.org. If you're not familiar, Node is simply a way for you to be able to run JavaScript from your command line. There's simple as that. It's a JavaScript engine for your command line. Make sure to grab the version 5.6. Make sure that's installed. You might have to restart your computer. The installer will manipulate your environment variables. Make sure that you can type in node -- version and get a version number. Oh, I need to update. As well as an npm -- version to get your npm version. Those are the two tools that you'll need to have installed. Next up, you're going to want to do npm install. And you're going to want to do npm install from the directory that the playground pre-built was pulled into. And what that's going to do is it's going to take all of these dependencies that I have of things, including reactive extensions, version 5 beta 2, and it's going to pull them down. So I'll go ahead and hit enter. And while that's installing all those dependencies, let's talk about the folder structure here. Again, this playground allows us to write, to quickly iterate both on code that's executed on the console as well as code that's executed in the browser. For the browser, we have two folders, the public folder, which contains our HTML files, and the source client folder, which contains our JavaScript files that will be compiled into the public build folder. Then, for our command line, we have source server. And these files are intended to be ran against Node in the command line. And these files will be built into the build folder. Now, I want to point out that there are two tools that need to be installed globally on your system. And we can do that through npm once it's done installing. But yeah, the basic workflow is we're going to open up a command line window. We're going to instruct this application to compile our source client and our source server code. Then we're going to open up another command line window, and we'll use it to either run our client code or our server code. And the client code will simply launch a basic HTTP server, and our server code will run that against Node. Okay, the tools that you're going to need to install globally. npm install gulp.js / gulp-cli hash 4.0 space -g. Now that -g is important. That means it's going to install this tool globally on your system so you can access it from your command line. The next thing you're going to want to install globally is going to be npm install live-server -g. Now, live server is the HTTP server we're going to be using. And that's really cool because it'll auto-refresh our assets as they change. Okay, with that out of the way, how do we compile our source server and our source client and make it so that this modern JavaScript syntax, such as our imports, get properly worked on? Well, we simply will type in gulp space watch:/scripts. And that'll execute my watch:/scripts task, which is defined in my gulp file.js. And now, if I open up my build folder, I can see that it did go out and it did turn my server code into awesome ES 2015 code, modern JavaScript code. And if I open up my public build, I might have to do a refresh here. There we go. Public build, you'll see that it did, not only did it compile my code into code that'll run on the browser, it also imported all of my modules. Again, this is super important. I want to use things in my client such as Moment or jQuery or reactive extensions, and I want to be able to import them, and we need it to be bundled together. That's why we have this build task in the first place. Anyway, so this task right here will often be running in the background, and I might mention, I might not, but really when you want to start hacking, just type in gulp watch:/scripts. I'll move that off to the side though. If we want to run our server code, we will simply type in npm run Nodemon space build followed by build. This is directory name, build followed by the name of the thing we want to run. So in this case, example underscore 00. And now Nodemon is running, which means if I come in here to my source server and I change this and hit Control S, notice how it reloads the script. Right, it Gulp compiled the script, and then Nodemon reran the script. So this is going to allow us to do some quick feedback on RxJS. Again, I know I'm spending a lot of time talking about this, but I think it's really important to have a tight feedback loop when investigating a new framework or way of thinking. This will save us a lot of time in the future. All right, what about our client code? So let's go ahead and kill Nodemon by hitting Control-C. For our client code, we'll simply type in live-server space public. And that'll open up a browser window. And for this, I can go ahead and click on example00.html, which is this kind of dummy example HTML file that I created. And notice how I import in example00.js inside of this HTML file, which is being served out of this build folder. If I come into source client and change this, like let's say alert hi, and hit Control S, it'll rebundle and automatically refresh. And I think that's really cool. So if I come in here and change this, like, whoa, I don't even have to hit the refresh button. So that is live server, that is Nodemon, and that is Gulp. And that's all you need to know to follow along with these examples. And again, I need this so I can use modern JavaScript code when going through these examples, because this is really the way that reactive extension should be built against, or worked with against. You know what I'm saying. Stuff and things. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and work on our first example for reactive extensions. And basically it's going to be organized where we'll build out a sample that does not use reactive extensions. And then we're going to turn around, build it with reactive extensions, and see how awesome they are and how much code they save. And that should provide enough motivation for this sort of paradigm. Anyway, we'll see you guys then.